Housing in Star Resonance is currently in beta, and it absolutely feels like it. The system is rough and difficult to deal with, but it also gives users significant power. I asked members of the community who have harnessed that power to show it off, so in this video I'll be sharing their creations and explaining a little about how they made it work. The first house I want to showcase is from a user named Cara. We have a picture here of the front of the house, which is the same for all players, but then she's added numerous plants, some wall decorations, balloons, and then even a hanging plant, and I think most importantly, some lights in the back, which, despite being technically a default look, it makes it pop. I don't know, I like it. I especially like the larger plants down at the bottom and then the smaller plants on the stairs. It just makes the house entrance come alive. The second house I want to showcase is from Kojo, along with his roommates Jakira, Ethna, and Anteku. In the first picture, they've got like a bar set up, complete with seats and then some shelves in the background. And then the gate at the end, I think, is actually the footboard for a bed, but the bed is just kind of sunk into the wall. So it looks like a gate, but it's a nice case of furniture being used for something that wasn't really intended for it. And then they also have a picture where their roommates are sitting at the bar with them. In another picture, we can see how they're making use of the flooring, the wallpaper, and then at the top, near the ceiling, you can see this beam here, which makes it feel more like a real house. Like when you have the default and it's just the pastel white walls and they're just all together, it can look really flat. But the addition of something like this beam and then the ceiling, which is also, I want to say, flooring for the second floor, it just makes it feel like a home. Then this creation, like in addition to the lighting being really good, they've taken some of the pictures that you can put on the wall and then kind of hidden them in the background with shelves in front, and the effect is very nice to look at. Like this is a very creative use of furniture that I think really pops. And then you've got this beam which you add in manually. They put a light on that, some shelving off to the side where they've also put a whole lot of items on the shelf, and then they've sunk another piece of furniture into the wall to create yet more shelving. There's 3 different styles of wood for the floor, ceiling, and wall. Like, it just all comes together. Excellent. And then speaking of furniture that's being used for an unintended purpose, they also have these cabinets where they sunk them back into the wall just a little bit to create, instead of a single cabinet, what looks like just a long row of cabinets. Then you turn them upside down, you can also have cabinets that look like they're mounted on the wall. And then if you just match them together like this, even like another style of cabinet. I don't know why I like this so much, but I do. Then here's the whole thing just kind of coming together. A nice couch off to the side. The room looks lived in. I love all of the wood instead of, like the pasty white. And they've got these lamps. They're kind of like street lamps, but because the room is already wooden, it still fits here. And then of course the Irie is a bartender. And the next showcase is from Duck God, who has created a 3-floor house here. And if you look kind of at the wide view, you can see that the walls for the first floor are sunk into the floor, which kind of lowers the ceiling height, which makes it easier to then get 3 floors. But I also want to point out on the left side, if you look at the stairs, those are also sunk into the wall. And then there's a pillar place where the stairs meet the wall on the right, which looks a lot better than if it's just the stairs with the wall cutting into them. It looks like something you might actually see in a house. And if we take a closer look here, we can see tables placed around with stools, and then you have various things on the tables. And these tables are actually 4 smaller tables stuck together, which is why they have so many legs. But looking at it, it looks natural, like just a full table. And then on the far side of the room, we have this kind of bar area with some sort of signage. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe I can look that up before I post this. We'll see. But it makes it look like you're walking into a restaurant, basically. And then from this angle, we can see this sort of contraption on the wall. It's a bunch of shelves placed together, and then you have hanging plants on them, a bookshelf off to the side. But it looks like so much more than that. It gives the whole wall a reason to be looked at. And then we can see this going on in the background too, where much of the wall is covered in shelves. And what isn't covered in shelves has pictures or some objects that you can fish up, which just give the place more character. And then finally, standing behind the bar here, I want to point out all of the carpets on the floor. This is a lot of carpets, and they just use this in addition to the regular flooring to create a patterned floor that you couldn't get otherwise. And then when they have this bar, they also have this beam placed in the background here, which when you walk into a building, you don't really think about it, but you do need beams to hold up the ceiling. And so just seeing this here really helps this feel like an actual building instead of just, a place you put some random items in. The same goes for all the plants that are around, things on the walls, this cabinet in the back of the bar. I think this is the start of a very lively era. Now the next showcase comes from Spectral, and I want to immediately point out we've got these lampposts yet again that one would expect to be used outside, but the way they're used here makes them look like they're supporting beams for the second floor, which I think is very clever. And then also at the far end of the room, that is a window technically, but when placed on the floor like this, it makes it look like a sort of fancy door, which again, very good off-label use of furniture. And speaking of off-label use, we also have underneath the lamppost, I'm pretty sure that's a partition which has been turned on its side and then sunk into the floor. And so now it looks kind of like a seat, and there's a bottle on it, which further sells that. And I love the wood paneling on the walls. Then we've got the wood slats kind of leaning up against the wall that just kind of give a little bit more life to it. And then if we go up those stairs, you've got this kind of open second floor area within a little art corner. You have your windows, you have hanging plants. They kind of hang down into the room below. And also love the lighting on the wall there. Then if you turn around, you've got a whole nother room, which is basically a wall was built to block it off, which gives the impression of it being its own room. And I love the wood flooring here as we're moving into that. Then when you go in, you see some partitions off to the left, which have been placed on their side to create a staircase. And I guess this is where everyone sleeps. We've got 5 beds here and a nice sort of double-decker situation. Then finally, my favorite area in this house, they've just created a little corner with a raised floor, a nice couch. Then that basket is actually placed upside down, so it looks like a table, especially when they put all these cups and bottles on it. And we have a lamp that has been fixed to the ceiling to create kind of a hanging light. This rug, which goes up the raised floor. And then you look in the middle back, all those flowers, those are hand placed. The decoration doesn't happen. So what they did, they grew flowers and then they placed them one by one into this decoration to create this sort of shield of flowers. So like all over the place, they're using furniture however they want to, not necessarily how it is labeled to be used, and the effect is great. Now the final house I want to show off is extremely creative. Like the first time I looked at this, I actually wasn't sure how it possibly could have been done. Now Edasch has created a sort of, I don't know what you would call it, it's like a garden, a terrace garden almost. And this is made almost entirely out of partitions, just the regular white partition that you can make or buy a ton of right off. So they've planted their flowers in here and they sunk the walls into the ground at various angles. And some of the walls, there's only like a tiny corner sticking out, which creates this sort of layered and angular look. And then off to the right, they put, those are crates that are sunk down so that they look like a tilled field. Then they sunk plants, which are potted into that, so it looks like the plants are then growing out of it. So you have the flowers on one side, and then these plants, but they're simulated growing on another. And then the partitions also create stairs, which lead up to the crafting desk, where they've put seats in front of it, and there's a few lamps placed around for lighting. And this, extremely creative. I love it. They actually sent me a video showing how they did it, which I'll play a bit of that for you here, but I'll also put a link to the full video in the description because it's on their channel and you can go check that out. They probably have some other cool housing stuff up there by now. But I really love this sort of building more building out of things that aren't even necessarily meant to be building blocks. Just very creative. Alright, that is it for this time. I want to say thanks again to everyone that gave me permission to use their photographs here and worked on this stuff in the first place. I'm hoping to do this on a regular basis because for some reason I really like seeing the things people put together. A lot of it's really mind-blowing, and while I'm really into life skills, I like making the furniture and all that stuff, I'm actually not that great at putting a house together, so I just like watching the people that do. If you have a house that you want to show off, just let me know. I'll have my Discord linked in the description. There aren't really any criteria. If you think it's great, show it to me. I'll put it in here. Alright, thanks again, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.